What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Scale News Update. If you're not familiar with the show, this is where we talk about the news topics that happened in the scale world of RC over the past week. If you enjoy the Scale News Update, normally hit the like button. Ton of topics for this week. Some interesting things have happened. Let's jump into this week's topics. First for this week, Panda Hobbies is going out of business. You may have heard of this brand or you may not. They generally make smaller scale crawlers, and they were in general just rebranded stuff that you could typically find under a different name or a different place, just not necessarily that original. But they had been around for a little while, and they definitely had pushed their way into a number of the distribution channels as well. But they had 50% off on everything over the last several days or week or so. Most of it or all of it on their website appears to be sold out, except maybe some of the support parts. But they are also running those sales on Amazon. So you might be able to snag something there if you want to pick up an inexpensive 124 scale or 118 scale car that you most definitely will have a hard time finding parts and support for in the future. If that's something that doesn't scare you away and you want to save some money on something cheap, check out Amazon. I'll try and find a link to their Amazon store and put that in the description below. Next, for those of you that have purchased the Moonbuggy build package off of my website for the laser cut parts from Sendcut Send are now available. They've created a new marketplace, which is kind of similar to like Shapeways, where you upload the design and people are able to go there and purchase them in like a storefront style look. I just have a couple of the things for the Jimmy's Moonbuggy build project on there now. So if you're one of those people or you've been thinking about it, I did add the links to the web listing on my website, harleydesigns.com, and I'll put a link to that in the description below. Speaking of the Moonbuggy build, over the last week, I've tried a couple of YesWelders. One, super inexpensive, just over 200 bucks for this TIG welder. And I've been really enjoying it so far. I've already started my third chassis of this design now, and I'm only using that super inexpensive 205p Pro TIG welder from YesWelder to get it done. If you're interested in that, I put up a video only on that welder, and I'll put a link to that below. This is the second welder from YesWelder that I've tried, and they did give me a 10% off discount code this time. So if you guys are interested in them, you can go save 10% with code Harley Designs. There's a link in the description that you can follow that will take you there. Go check out that video. I'll put a link above here, and you can go see if that's something that may fit your needs. And speaking of needs, if you feel the need to support this channel a little bit extra, you can check out the channel membership. Channel membership just does, again, help support the channel a little bit further. You also get early access to the videos like the Scale News Update or the YesWelder videos, which went up the day before. I also do just some rambling about what projects I'm working on or what's happening in the future or how a project went in general. So if you're interested in that, I'll put a link below where you can find all the information. Thanks to everybody who's decided to support the channel a little bit further. It's much appreciated. This Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, Livestream Takeover every Wednesday, like usual. Come check out, hang out with Matt and I before the start of the holiday weekend. Looking forward to it. Got a lot to talk about, but there's a lot that's been going on. They're going to get into some more of those topics here soon, but I think it's going to be a busy week. And thanks to RCMap.io for partnering with the Scale News Update for this month. If you're not familiar, RCMap.io is an app that you can get on your iPhone. It's also been submitted, so it should be available soon for you Android users. Or you can go to RCMap.io as the website address. And what it is a website and an app that just aggregates all kinds of user-created locations for you to go use your RC at. Everything from trails to rock piles, scenic places in general. There's some really awesome information there. I've found spots around me that I had no idea, and you can tag a photo in it or a YouTube video so you can see exactly what the place looks like before you decide to go. It's been super helpful for me, and I'm sure it'd be super helpful to a bunch of you. Also, they're doing a giveaway for an Axial CJ7, and I think they've got more planned here in the near future. And if you know of more spots that aren't on the map yet and you create them, that automatically enters you for more entries in the giveaway. So win-win. Go check that out. Maybe you'll help someone out, or maybe you'll find a place that you want to crawl. So thanks again to RCMap.io for sponsoring this month of the Scale News Update. We covered the Traxxas Mud Boss when it was released, and this is basically just a slash with a dirt oval style body on top. But they're changing the name. It is no longer going to be called the Mud Boss, and it's going to be called the Modified. Now, I think that there was a couple of reasons behind that. I don't believe that it fit the pre-existing Mud Boss class. I think that it better fit what would be called the modified class, thus the name change. Now, there was a company, or is a company, called Traxxas Mud Boss, and they make bodies specifically. They don't look just like this, but they're similar. They're in that fashion. And it was a whole racing class that was created very similar. The brother of the person that created the class, he made a post on Facebook the other day that I found or dug up so that I could specifically look at. But it says right in there that the name Mud Boss was not trademarked. So Traxxas was not stepping on a trademark. They didn't have to change the name of this as it appears at this point. It was just something that they decided to do. And even though it was already pre-existing, they had the right to do it if they wanted. Now, they decided to change it for a combination of reasons. Who knows exactly, because it's not very Traxxas-like for them to change the name or react to this type of thing normally. So if there was more beyond that, it'd be interesting to hear, but I highly doubt that we will. Just thought it was interesting. You don't see Traxxas change courses very often. Other than just seeing a different name on the box eventually, nothing really is going to change. And speaking of nothing changing, Tamiya, specifically Mr. Tamiya, or Shunsaku Tamiya, was the president of Tamiya, and he is resigning or retiring, stepping down, whatever it is. He'll be stepping back, and in his place will be his grandson-in-law, who's 37 years old, and he will be taking the place of president of Tamiya. He has only been there since 2020, so he's not a long-standing Tamiya employee, but 37 years old, going to step into that position. Maybe new ways are coming. Out with the JIS hardware, in with some hex drive, bearings for everybody. Highly doubt it. But, you know, a changing guard it has the possibility, has the best possibility of it ever happening, I guess, maybe. Again, I wouldn't hold my breath, but maybe we'll see something in 10 years. Place your bets if anything actually changes, or if it just is the same Tamiya as usual. Next, did you know that Losi released a super LaserNut? Some people did, but not as many as you would expect. So Losi released the new super LaserNut, which we saw a leak of a month or two ago, something like that, when they released some of the 8 parts, the new 8, which is what this is based on, what platform this is based on. And it also had the super LaserNut tag attached to the part. Tower Hobbies, thanks again. But then they fully released this super LaserNut last week. And, you know, they made a couple of Facebook posts. They had a video on it, but they didn't send it out to any media. They're not like RC Driver, who gets everything and reviews it like that. Like, he is that channel. Nothing. You know, the publications that they've worked with always and get them nothing. Super odd. We didn't see any other outside media on this. The only other media that was created were just like the people who take photos from the internet and then make a video about it by just reading the website. Just terrible content. If you're going to do that, you should get a bunch of pictures from around the internet and then put them all together and call it the news. No, seriously, that was it. All we saw. So, so weird. I don't understand what's going on. Did the marketing guy go on vacation that week? He just hasn't shipped them. Did they not get them to ship out? He said some a sample version. They're like, we'll send them out when the other ones get here. I'll be if we are able, maybe we can find out. This is something I'll try and ask more on, because you don't normally see this. So when you search Super LaserNut, you get a lot of old LaserNut videos, a few of the, website style reviews, and the Losi video. That's it. Beyond that, as far as actual specs go, It's big. It looks like the LaserNut. It's got real fabric window nets. And maybe it's good. Sparc Drive has officially released their axles for order. Now, they're not available to be shipping yet. It's a pre-order, and they put the date when they'll actually be shipping here soon. But we finally got full photos, some video. There's a website live with some of the details and like prototype stage photos as well. But we're finally getting to see the whole thing on here. Now, I got an email with a few details, but they didn't have as many details as I wanted. So I decided to reach out, see if I could have a conversation with them about this to try and get some more information. I had a nice phone call with Sean, who is the inventor, owner of the project. Now, it is a very involved setup. Now, first of all, you can see the photo here that these axles, they definitely do not look like the axles you would expect to see or usually think you would want to see underneath of your car. There's a lot going on, and that creates a very distinct style to these things. You're not picking up any scale points for the look. But inside of these 3D printed housings are a custom ring and pinion set with an open differential. Now, the open differential is needed for the torque vectoring that these have. And getting into the whole thing with them, there was some pretty cool tech in there. On each side of the differential, which is a 4-gear spider in there, you've got planetary gears, or planetary gear sets on each side towards the outers. And then there is a set of gears as well as an additional small motor inside of that axle. And there's a Hall effect sensor on the center diff, very similar to like what you would see inside of one of your brushless motors. So it can sense how fast things are moving. By sensing the speed of the ring gear as well as the amount of input that it sees from the steering, it can determine how much to slow down the inside tires and speed up the outside tires by using the tiny motor inside of these axles. Now, to do that for the front and rear. And when you're not steering, when it's just going straight, the axles remain locked. They're not like a normal open differential. So it'll act like an actually locked axle until it sees that steering, and that's when this whole system starts to work. Now, that does require another module that goes in the center of the chassis that's basically got 2 ESCs and this other control to decide what this whole thing is going to do. Again, it was a really interesting conversation. The module, the control module, is 2 to 4S capable, so not going to limit people as far as that goes. It is 3D printed housings, so if anything isn't 4S capable, it might be those housings. Now, the gear reduction inside the axle is less than like an AR44. It's closer to 3 to 1 versus like 3.75 to 1. So a little bit of a downside in that area, but there is some very cool tech that has gone into this. The size is definitely going to be something that is going to make people think twice. The size and the look of that axle housing itself. But if you could see this tech inside of an IFS or IFS IRS type setup where that was up into the chassis, I think it could really, really have some cool features. So again, a ton into these axles. They're not cheap. $449 for the axle set. Does give you the control module, and they look to be complete from end to end. So the price tag and the look going to be the hard part. Also, I mean, there's a lot going on in there. So lots of things to consider. Maybe it's something for you. Maybe you just love the actual tech that went into these. I find that pretty interesting myself. But if you're interested in more information, check out the Sparc Drive website. I'll put a link to that below. And next, the opposite of our last story, Reefs RC 1100 Smart in brass. People love strong. People love brass. Big, strong brass servo. Pretty much all it is. 1100 Smart is a wicked servo. I've used it a bunch of times. Really nice. And now it's available in the brass version. So if you just want that servo, but heavy, add to cart. And then Spektrum is teasing what appears to be their newest do it all, do it the best radio to come. In their teaser video here, they're showing everything they can. Rocks, motocross stuff, drag strips, like speed runs. They're everything that they can imagine. That's what they're trying to show that this radio is going to be for. Exactly what that, any radio can technically do some of those things, but It's going to do it the best. It's going to do it all. Everything you ever needed. Maybe it'll have Alexa inside. Order me razors. We'll find out here in the next couple of weeks exactly all of the details on this soon-to-come new radio. But that's going to do it for this week's news topics. For this week's question, we talked about a lot of really fancy new stuff this week. Large scale, super crazy fancy axles, maybe a really wild radio to come. I don't know. With all of that being said, what do you think is still missing? Do you think that there's some wild tech that's missing? Do you feel like it's on the other end and make it simpler? Simple. It should only go straight and it should only turn when you're backing up. New ideas. What do you think is missing out there these days? We've asked this type of question before, and I feel like this has given some of the best answers. So put your answer down in the comments below, or if you don't have one, just put the emoji of a little truck down there. Whatever it is. Thanks, as always, for watching the Scale News Update every Tuesday. Hit the like button if you enjoy it. Subscribe if you're not already. Consider joining the channel membership if you want to help support the channel a little bit further. But again, as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.